Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're not just reading a book. We are essentially deconstructing the entire way most of us are taught to view the world, our careers, and our money. We're tackling a monster.
It is a monster, but, in the best possible way. We are looking at Rich Dad's CASHFLOW Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
And I want to set the stage here because a lot of people know Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Is that purple book, right? The one everyone's uncle gave them for graduation.
It's a classic.
But this feels different. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was like the introduction to philosophy class that kind of blew your mind your freshman year.
Right, it was the big aha moment.
Yeah, but CASHFLOW Quadrant feels like the graduate level seminar on how to actually apply that philosophy. It's the how-to.
That is the perfect analogy. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the wake-up call. It was about shifting your paradigm to realize, hey, the rich don't work for money. But it left a lot of people asking, okay, so what do I actually do? Do I just quit my job tomorrow?
A question I'm sure a lot of people have asked themselves after reading it.
And the answer, of course, is no. Don't do that. CASHFLOW Quadrant is the playbook. It explains the mechanics of how wealth is built, not just the philosophy behind it.
So let's jump right into the deep end. I want to start with a question Kiyosaki brings up early on, and it really, it hits a little too close to home for me.
I think I know which one you mean.
It's a question every adult asks every 5-year-old. What do you want to be when you grow up?
It's a rite of passage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what do kids say? Firefighter, ballerina, doctor, astronaut.
Exactly, and we clap and say, oh, that's great, go for it. But looking at this text, Kiyosaki argues that this innocent question is actually the first step into a kind of trap.
A mental trap. It is a trap because look at the grammar of the question. What do you want to be? It implies a profession. It implies a specific job title.
Right.
It trains the child from age 5 to define their entire future based on what labor they will perform for money. It doesn't ask, how do you want to live? Or, what kind of freedom do you want?
It pushes us toward a specific trade. If you say doctor, you are, without even knowing it, signing up for med school, residency, a life of seeing patients. If you say teacher, you're signing up for a classroom. We're choosing a role in the machine before we even know how the machine works.
And that is the crux of the left side of the quadrant, which we will definitely get to. The entire school system, he argues, is designed to create employees and specialists, E's and S's. It is not designed to create free people.
And he lived this himself. Kiyosaki fell right into it. He had the cool answers to that question. He wanted to be a marine pilot and a ship's officer.
And he did it. That's the wild part. This isn't a story of a failure who turned to finance out of desperation. He was a success by any conventional measure.
Flying helicopters in Vietnam, traveling the world on tankers. I mean, by age 26, he had checked every single box that society told him would make him a man and a success.
But he felt empty. He writes about realizing that despite the cool uniform and the incredible skills, he was just looking for the next job. He was still just trading his time for a paycheck.
And he had this epiphany that he'd spent nearly 2 decades in school learning how to work, but he'd spent 0 days learning how money works.
That distinction, school versus financial education, is the absolute foundation here. That's the core of the whole thing.
So let's visualize this quadrant. It's the core symbol of the book. Imagine a big plus sign drawn on a piece of paper.
Right. Simple as that. You have 4 distinct spaces. Top left is the E.
E for employee.
Bottom left is the S.
S for self-employed or small business.
Top right is the B for big business.
And bottom right, the I. Investor. ESBI. It looks incredibly simple, almost like a tic-tac-toe board.
But the claim here, the whole premise of the book, is that these aren't just job descriptions. They're like entire universes, different realities.
They are completely different worlds. People in the E quadrant speak a different language than people in the I quadrant. They have different values, different emotional triggers, and most importantly, and this is what we really need to unpack, they live under a completely different set of tax laws. Okay, let's break them down, starting with the one most of us know, the E, the employee. Now, I think most listeners know what an employee is. You have a boss, you have a salary, but let's get into the psychology. What defines an E on the inside?
The core value. The emotional driver of the E is security. That is the drug of choice.
Security.
When you talk to an E, and this could be a janitor or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, it doesn't matter, you will hear certain buzzwords. Benefits, 401k matching, tenure, a good contract.
Safe, it's stable.
Exactly. I'm looking for a safe, secure job. The E operates primarily out of fear. The fear of uncertainty, the fear of not being able to pay the bills.
So they're willing to trade their autonomy
Yeah.
and usually a cap on their income.
In exchange for that guarantee,
Yeah.
that promise that on the 1st and the 15th of the month, the money will hit the bank account, no matter what.
It's like an outsourced survival strategy. You're saying, okay, I will give you my time and my best effort, and you, the company, you take care of my survival for me.
Precisely. And Kiyosaki is very clear here. There's no moral judgment. Society absolutely needs employees. We need doctors, teachers, pilots. But the trap is that the E often thinks they can get rich there.
And you can't.
Well, you can have a high income as an E, sure. A surgeon can make a lot of money. But you rarely have freedom. Because the moment you stop working, the money stops. You are tethered to the desk.
Okay, so that's the E. Now let's move down, but still on the left side, to the S, the self-employed, or, as Kiyosaki calls them, the small business owner or specialist.
Or the soloist. I like that term for it.
This is the one that really confuses people, because if I quit my corporate job and I start my own consulting firm, or I'm a freelance graphic designer or a high-powered dentist with my own practice, I'm a business owner, right? I made it. I'm on the right side of the chart.
And that is probably the biggest delusion in the modern economy. The S is still on the left side. The S is not a business owner in the way Kiyosaki defines it. They just own their job.
Ouch. You own a job? That sounds miserable.
It can be the most demanding job of all. Think about the core value of the S. It's not security anymore. It's independence or control.
Control. That's it.
They are the control freaks. Their mantra is, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself.
Oh, I know these people. I mean, I am these people sometimes. It's the doctor who doesn't trust the nurse to do the patient intake. It's the coder who has to rewrite everyone else's code because it wasn't clean enough.
Exactly. They are perfectionists. And because they are so good at what they do, the system rewards them with more work.
Right.
If you are a brilliant trial lawyer, everyone wants you. They don't want your junior associate. They want you. So you charge $500 an hour. Then you raise it to $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
You're making fantastic money. But can you ever leave?
No. If you leave, the billing stops.
Instantly.
If the dentist goes on vacation for a month, his income goes to zero. Even worse, his overhead, the rent on the office, the staff salaries, the insurance, all of that keeps going. So he's actually losing money to take a vacation.
Well,
This is what Kiyosaki calls the S dilemma. The more successful you become, the harder you have to work. You don't own a system that makes you money. You are the system.
It's the golden hamster wheel. You might be running in a wheel made of solid gold, but you're still on a hamster wheel.
And the burnout rate in the S quadrant is horrific. These are the people who have heart attacks in their 50s. They carry the weight of the entire world on their shoulders because they can't or won't trust anyone else to carry it with them.
Okay, so that's the left side, the side of active income. You trade your time directly for money. Now we cross that big vertical line. We go to the right side, the land of freedom. Let's talk about the B big business.
So technically, Kiyosaki defines a B as a business with 500 or more employees. But I think in the modern era, it's better to think of it as system ownership. The number of employees is less important than the structure.
So what's the mental shift here? What makes a B different from an S?
The B is the philosophical opposite of the S. The S wants to be the smartest, most capable person in the room.
Right. Do it yourself.
The B actively looks to surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are in specific areas. Their core value is systems. Their catchphrase isn't do it yourself, it's I'm looking for a great president to run my company for me.
They want to delegate. They want to fire themselves from the day-to-day operations.
Yes, that's the goal. Ideally, a true B can leave their business for a year, travel the world, do nothing, and come back to find the business is making more money and running more smoothly than when they left.
How is that possible?
Because the system is running. And they hired competent managers and leaders to improve the system in their absence. The B works on the business, not in the business.
Kiyosaki uses the McDonald's example. I love this because it's so humbling for all the S-types out there. He asks a room full of people, can you make a better hamburger than McDonald's?
And every single hand goes up. Of course they can. It's a low bar, let's be honest.
But then he asks the follow-up question, can you build a better business system than McDonald's?
And silence. Total silence fills the room. That is the entire difference right there.
Yeah.
McDonald's isn't really in the burger business. They are in the real estate and systems business. They have a system so robust, so perfected, that they can take a teenager who can't remember to tie his shoes, put him in the kitchen, and have him producing a standardized product that generates billions of dollars.
The S tries to make the perfect burger. The B builds the perfect assembly line to make burgers.
And that's all about leverage. The B uses leverage, specifically OPT, other people's time.
Other people's time.
Right. Henry Ford is the archetype. There's that famous story, it might be apocryphal, but it's illustrative, where Ford was being grilled by a group of intellectuals who called him ignorant. They asked him some specific question about history or mathematics.
And he didn't know the answer.
He didn't. He just picked up a phone on his desk, called an executive who did, and got the answer in 30 seconds. He turned to them and said, "Why should I clutter my mind with general knowledge when I have people to handle that for me?" That is the B mindset. I don't need to know how to do everything. I just need to build and control the system that gets it all done.
That brings us to the final quadrant. The Ben house, I guess you could call it. The I. The investor.
This is where the game changes completely. In the E, S, and B quadrants, you are still involved in the creation of value to some degree through labor or systems. In the I quadrant, your money is the employee. Your money does all the work.
The core value here has got to be financial freedom.
Absolute freedom. The I looks at a dollar bill not as something to spend, but as a little soldier, a worker. If I send this dollar out into the world, I want it to come back with a friend or two.
The key question for an I is always, what is my return on investment, or ROI?
Exactly. What am I getting back for putting this capital at risk? The I uses OPM other people's money and OPT other people's time to generate wealth. They don't work for money. Their assets work for them 2004/7.
Okay, now I want to challenge something here because this is where a lot of people get confused. You hear people say, oh, I'm an investor. I have a 401k or I have an E-Trade account. Does that make them a true I in this model?
Not according to Kiyosaki, no. That usually makes you an E with a savings plan. It's a passive strategy.
What's the difference?
A true I, in this context, is someone whose income from assets completely covers their living expenses. It's about active cash flow, not just having a pile of money sitting in an account. If your 401k crashes by 30%, you still have to get up and go to work on Monday, right?
Right. I'd be panicking.
A true I might actually see a market crash as a huge buying opportunity. They might make more money because they are actively managing their portfolio, maybe shorting stocks or buying distressed assets. It's a proactive, professional level of investing, not just buy and hope.
Okay, so we have the map. E and S on the left, driven by security and a need for control. B and I on the right, driven by a desire for systems and freedom. The goal is to move from left to right.
That's the journey.
But, and this is the part of the book that really hit me hard, Kiyosaki says you can't just decide to change. It's not a technical shift, like filling out a form to start an LLC. He says it's a physiological change, an emotional one.
It is. This is where the book goes from finance to deep psychology. He talks about the emotional brain. He even cites Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence. We like to think we're rational creatures making logic-based financial decisions.
We're not.
We are not. We are emotional creatures who use logic to justify what our emotions have already decided to do.
And the dominant emotion for everyone on the left side of that quadrant is fear.
Overwhelmingly, it's fear, the fear of survival. When the money runs out or threatens to run out, the E feels a deep primal panic, and that panic drives them to seek immediate relief. What is the fastest relief?
A job, a steady paycheck.
A paycheck, and he compares that paycheck to a drug, specifically heroin, which is a pretty extreme comparison.
It's extreme, but think about the mechanism of addiction. You have a craving, the fear, the bills piling up. You get the substance, the paycheck hits your account, the pain goes away for a short time. You feel safe, you feel high.
And then the substance wears off. The money gets spent on rent, groceries, the car payment. The fear returns. You need another hit. You become completely dependent on the dealer.
The employer.
The employer. And if you try to quit that addiction...
Then the withdrawal.
Exactly. The withdrawal symptoms of leaving the E quadrant are terror. Pure, unadulterated terror. How will I pay the mortgage? What if I fail? What will my family think of me? And most people cannot handle that withdrawal, so they run right back to the perceived safety of a job.
So moving to the B or I quadrant isn't just about learning accounting or how to read a stock chart. It's about breaking a deep-seated addiction. It's about rewiring your brain to handle risk and uncertainty differently.
Right. And E sees risk, and their emotional brain screams, avoid it, run away. And I sees risk, feels the same fear, but their trained rational brain kicks in and says, okay, how do we manage this? How do we mitigate it?
This explains the whole A student phenomenon he talks about. We all know that person who is the valedictorian, followed all the rules, got straight A's, and is now working for the C student who dropped out and started a company.
It's because our school system punishes mistakes. If you make a mistake on a test, you get a bad grade. You are shamed, you fail. So the A student learns deep in their bones that mistakes are fatal. They become terrified of being wrong.
But in business, in investing,
Mistakes are how you learn. They're the tuition you pay. You cannot learn to be a successful investor without losing money at some point. It's impossible. It's like trying to learn to ride a bike without ever wobbling or falling down.
the C student is often more comfortable with failure. They're used to not knowing the answer, used to trying things and getting it wrong, used to figuring things out on the fly. They have emotional scar tissue that the protected A student just doesn't have.
It leads to what Kiyosaki calls analysis paralysis.
Oh, I see this all the time. Incredibly smart people who will research a stock or a real estate deal for 6 months. They'll create a spreadsheet with 100 tabs. They find one tiny flaw, and then they don't buy it. They can't pull the trigger.
And then the deal is gone. They use their incredible intelligence to talk themselves out of an opportunity because their emotional brain was screaming, danger, don't lose money. The I acts, sometimes fails, learns, and adjusts. The highly educated E analyzes until it's perfectly safe, which usually means the opportunity has passed.
There's a story in the book that summarizes this entire shift perfectly. The parable of the pipeline. I feel like this story should be taught in every high school business class.
It really should. It's a very simple story, Rich Dad told him. There's a village that needs water, but there's no water source in the village itself. The elders hired 2 guys, Ed and Bill, to supply the water.
Okay, so Ed is the classic hard worker, the E and S mindset.
Yeah.
What does he do?
Ed immediately grabs 2 big steel buckets. He runs down the path to the lake, fills them up, lugs them all the way back to the village, and dumps them in the town's holding tank. He gets paid per bucket.
It's honest work, immediate results.
It is, but it's brutal, backbreaking work. He's up at 4 a.m. every day. His back is aching, but he's making money from day one. If he wants to make more money, what does he have to do?
Work longer hours or get bigger buckets.
Exactly. He is the mechanism of income. His body is the asset.
And then there's Bill. What does Bill do?
Bill disappears. For months, the village thinks he quit. Ed is laughing all the way to the bank, making all the cash, probably even taking over Bill's share of the market.
But Bill's not gone.
No, Bill is somewhere in a garage drawing blueprints. He's forming a company, raising investment capital. He's hiring a construction crew. He spends a full year building a stainless steel pipeline from the lake all the way to the village.
And during that entire year, Bill makes $0 from the water business.
0. In fact, he's spending money. He's going into debt. This is the valley of death for most entrepreneurs. You are working your tail off with no immediate reward. But then, one day, the pipeline is finished. Bill walks up to a spigot he installed in the center of town. He turns the valve.
And water comes out. And the game is over for Ed.
Game over. Bill can sell the water for half the price of Ed's water because he has almost no labor costs. He can deliver cleaner water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He makes money while he sleeps. He makes money while he's on vacation. And Ed and his buckets are obsolete.
I think we need to just pause there because that hits so hard. Most of us are hauling buckets. We might be hauling digital buckets, answering emails, writing code, seeing patients. But if we stop hauling, the income stops.
And the question the book forces you to ask is this. Are you digging a pipeline on the side? You don't have to quit your bucket hauling job today. But are you spending your evenings and weekends building something that will eventually flow without your direct hour-to-hour effort?
A blog with ad revenue, a rental property portfolio, a dividend stock portfolio, a patent for an invention.
Anything that is a system. If you aren't building a pipeline, you are just waiting for your back to give out.
This leads directly to a radical redefinition of the word wealth, because we usually think wealth is just a number. I'm a millionaire. He's worth $1 billion. But Kiyosaki says that's wrong. Wealth is not measured in money. It's measured in time.
This is a concept he borrowed from the futurist Buckminster Fuller, and it's brilliant. Wealth is simply the number of days you can survive without physically working while maintaining your current standard of living.
Okay, let's do the math on that. It's a simple formula. If my family spends, say, $5,000 a month to live, and I have $20,000 in a savings account.
You are wealthy for 4 months. That's it. You are 4 months away from total financial collapse.
But let's change the scenario. I still spend $5,000 a month, but I have assets, let's say rental properties, that generate a positive cash flow of $5,100 a month after all expenses.
Then you are infinitely wealthy. You never have to work another day in your life if you don't want to. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million in the bank or $10. Your cash flow from your pipeline exceeds your life's burn rate. You're free.
That is such a liberating concept. It makes the goal feel so much more achievable. You don't need $10 million in a retirement account. You just need enough cash flow to cover your life.
It shifts the goalpost from chasing net worth, which is often a fake, meaningless number tied up in your house or your car, to cash flow, which is real, spendable money hitting your bank account every month.
Speaking of fake net worth,
Yeah.
we have to go there. We have to touch the third rail. The most controversial point in the entire book. The part that makes homeowners scream and throw the book across the room.
Your house is not an asset.
People get so angry about this. They say, what are you talking about? I have $200,000 in equity. Its value has gone up for 10 straight years.
And Kiyosaki's response is simple and brutal. That is irrelevant to the definition of an asset. He simplifies accounting down to a single first-grade level rule.
An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket, period.
End of story. So let's look at your personal home through that lens. Your mortgage payment,
Money out.
property tax,
Out.
homeowner's insurance,
Out.
a new roof, a broken water heater, lawn care.
Out. 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 It is a cash-sucking machine. The cash only flows in one direction.
Out.
Therefore, by his definition, it is a liability.
Now, people argue, but I can sell it later for a profit. Kiyosaki calls that capital gains. That is speculation. You are betting that the market will go up. That's not the same as an asset that produces monthly cash flow.
But wait a minute. If it's a liability for me, money doesn't just disappear into a black hole. Where's all that money I'm paying going?
This is the secret to the whole game. This is the concept of two sets of books. For every liability on your balance sheet, it exists as an asset on someone else's balance sheet.
So my mortgage, which is my biggest liability,
Is the bank's greatest asset. It puts money in their pocket every single month in the form of your interest payments. You think you own the home, but for the first 15 years of a 30-year mortgage, you are really just renting money from the bank. You are their employee.
Wow.
You go to your job as an E, you work hard, you get paid, and then you transfer that wealth directly to the bank, which operates in the B and I quadrants.
That is horrifyingly brilliant.
It's the game. The whole financial game is about one question: who is indebted to whom? The rich want to own the assets that produce debt for others, the loans, the bonds, the rental properties. The poor and middle class act as the hosts for these assets by holding all the debt.
So the cash flow pattern for the middle class is work hard at a job, buy liabilities they think are assets, a big house, a nice car, which creates payments that flow to the rich.
While the cash flow pattern for the rich is buy real assets. Those assets generate income. That income buys their luxuries. They never, ever buy the luxury first. The assets buy the luxuries.
Okay, I want to get a bit more granular now. We've covered the big theories, but how do we actually categorize investors? Because as we said, I have a Robinhood account is technically investing, but Kiyosaki wouldn't put that person in the true I quadrant.
No, absolutely not. In later editions of the book, he updated it to break down investors into 5 distinct levels. And we need to walk through these because I bet most listeners are probably stuck in level 2 or 3 and don't even realize it's a problem.
Level 1 is the easy one, the zero financial intelligence level.
These are people with nothing, or worse, a negative net worth. They're spending more than they make, using credit cards to pay for groceries. It's a tragedy, but it's a huge percentage of the population.
Okay, level 2, the savers. Now, my grandma, your grandma, our entire culture for generations told us, a penny saved is a penny earned. Save your money for a rainy day. Why does Kiyosaki have a chapter titled Savers or Losers?
He's not saying they're losers as people. He's saying they're mathematically losing the financial game. And it's all because of a single date, August 15th, 1971.
When President Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard.
Exactly. Before 1971, money was tied to a real asset, gold. It held its value. After 1971, money became currency. It is fiat. It's backed by nothing but faith, and it is designed to be printed. Governments must constantly print more money to keep the economy moving. This process is called inflation.
So if I have $10,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account earning, let's be generous and say 1% interest.
And official inflation is 3%, but real-world inflation on things you actually buy is more like 6%.
Yeah.
You are losing 5% of your purchasing power every single year. Your money is melting like an ice cube in the sun. The safe strategy of saving cash is actually a guaranteed loss over time. That's why level 2 is a trap.
Wow. Okay, level 3, the I can't be bothered or the smart amateur.
He describes 2 types here. First is the I can't be bothered. They know they should invest, so they hand their money over to a financial planner, pay high fees for a generic mutual fund, and just say, I hope you know what you're doing. They have completely surrendered control.
And the other type.
Is the gambler. This is the person who chases hot tips. They buy a meme stock because they read a Reddit thread. They buy crypto at the all-time high. They think they're investing, but they're just playing slots in a casino. They have no system, no education, just emotion.
Then we get to level 4, the long-term investor.
Yeah.
This is where I think a lot of responsible people live.
Yes, this is your 401k investor, the person who consistently buys low-cost index funds, who understands buy and hold. And Kiyosaki says, this is fine. It's a good strategy. If you are a busy E or S, being a level 4 investor is a perfectly acceptable path.
Why?
But you won't get rich, not really. And you certainly won't be free until you're 65 or 70. You are still parking your money in someone else's system and hoping it works out over 40 years. It's a slow, passive path.
Which brings us to the top. Level 5, the capitalist, the sophisticated investor. This is the deep end of the pool.
This is the perfect synergy of the BNI quadrants. This investor doesn't just buy shares of Apple. They create the deals. They understand things like the velocity of money.
Okay, explain that. The velocity of money. It sounds complicated.
It's actually a simple idea. It's about how many times you can use the same dollar to buy an asset in a year. A level 4 investor puts their dollar in an index fund and leaves it there for 30 years. Its velocity is very low. A level 5 investor wants to get their money in and out of deals quickly.
How does that work in practice?
Let's use his concept of infinite returns. This is a pure level 5 strategy. Let's say I find a rundown apartment building for sale for $100,000. It needs work. I go to a bank and get a loan for 80% of the purchase price, so $80,000. I still need $20,000 for the down payment.
So you use $20,000 of your own savings.
A level 4 investor would. A level 5 investor raises that $20,000 from private investors. So I have now put $0 of my own money into the deal. I'm just the manager.
You're controlling a $100,000 asset with none of your own cash at risk?
Exactly. I then use some more borrowed money to fix the place up. I renovate the units, I raise the rents. Now the building is generating more income, so it's worth more. Let's say it's now valued at $150,000. I go back to the bank and I refinance the property based on its new higher value. I pull out enough cash to pay back my private investors with a nice profit for them. I now still own the building. I still get the monthly rent checks, but I have $0 of my own invested in it.
So if you're making, say, $500 a month in profit, and you divide that by your investment, which is 0.
The return is infinite. My money is no longer stuck in the deal. My capital is free to go out and do the exact same thing again. That is velocity. Moving your money from asset to asset without letting it get stuck. That is how the ultra-rich operate. They are not parking money. They are constantly circulating it.
That feels like financial magic, but it's just math and leverage.
It's math, leverage, and understanding the tax code. The government actually wants you to do this.
Let's talk about that. Taxes. Why do the rich seem to pay so much less in taxes? It feels fundamentally unfair to the average E who sees 30% of their paycheck disappear before they even get it.
It feels unfair, but you have to look at it from the government's point of view. What does the government want more than anything?
They want a stable, growing economy. They want jobs for people. They want housing for people to live in. They want energy production.
Exactly. So they create tax incentives, aka tax breaks, for people who provide those things. If I start a business in the B quadrant and hire 50 people, I am helping the government solve its unemployment problem. So they give me tax breaks. If I buy an apartment complex in the I quadrant, I am providing housing for 100 families. The government gives me huge breaks for that, like depreciation.
But the E, the employee...
Does the E provide? Labor. There is no tax break for providing your own labor. In fact, you get taxed first. The money is taken out for taxes before you ever see your paycheck.
Well, the B and the I.
The B and the I earn money, spend money on business expenses, and then pay tax on whatever is left over. The E earns money, pays taxes first, and then spends what is left. It is a fundamental structural disadvantage baked into the system.
So if you want to legally pay less in taxes, you have to stop being just a laborer and start doing what the government wants you to do. Invest in the economy by providing jobs and housing.
Precisely. Don't hate the player. You have to understand the rules of the game you're in.
We're coming into the home stretch here. We've covered the psychology, the definitions of the quadrants, the levels of investors. But the listener right now is probably asking, okay, I get it. I'm an E. I want to be an I. What is the first step? What do I do tomorrow?
And this is where Kiyosaki gives us the be-do-have formula. Most people approach this problem backwards. They focus on have. I want to have $1 million.
Then they move to do. Okay, what do I need to do to get that $1 million?
But he argues it has to start with B. You have to become the person who can create and handle that kind of wealth. If you give a person with an E mindset $1 million, they will usually lose it. We see this with lottery winners all the time.
They go bankrupt.
Because they haven't changed their B. They still have a consumer employee mindset, so the money just flows right through their hands and back to the B's and I's.
So how do we change our B? How do we become that person?
He gives 7 steps, but let's focus on the most critical ones. Step 1, mind your own business.
Which doesn't mean don't be nosy.
No, it means understand the crucial difference between your profession and your business. Your profession is what you do for your paycheck. Your business is your asset column. Your profession pays the bills. Your business makes you rich.
So keep your day job.
Absolutely. Be the best employee you can be. But from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and on weekends, you need to be minding your own business, building that pipeline, acquiring that first rental property, starting that e-commerce store. That's your business.
Okay, step 2. Take control of your cash flow.
This is the famous pay yourself first rule, and it's emotionally very, very hard. It means that when you get your paycheck, you immediately allocate a portion of it to your asset column, to your business, before you pay your mortgage, your car loan, or your credit card bills.
Well, what if you come up short on the bills?
Then you let the pressure from your creditors force you to become more creative. If you pay everyone else first, there's never anything left for you. But if you pay yourself first and you're short on the rent, that pressure will force you to hustle. You'll find a way to make extra cash. It forces financial innovation in your own brain.
That sounds incredibly risky.
Know the difference between risk and risky. That's step 3. Investing is not inherently risky. Being uneducated is risky. Buying a rental property when you don't know how to analyze the numbers is risky. But if you educate yourself on how to do it properly, the risk drops dramatically.
So don't just buy investments.
Buy education first. Go to seminars. Read books. Find mentors. That's step 5. Seek mentors. You cannot learn this stuff in isolation.
You need to find someone who is already in the I quadrant and learn from them.
And here's a warning. This might mean spending less time with your friends in the E quadrant who are telling you it can't be done or that sounds like a scam. Your environment is stronger than your willpower.
And finally, a really important one. Step 7, the power of faith.
This sounds a bit spiritual, and maybe it is. It's the deep down belief that you are capable of achieving financial freedom. It's the mirror test. When you look in the mirror, do you see someone who needs a boss to tell them what to do and give them a paycheck? Or do you see someone who can chart their own course and build their own pipeline?
We've thrown a lot at the listener today. Tax, lean-ins, pipelines, quadrants, the emotional brain.
It's a ton of information. But the summary is actually very simple.
It's about which game you want to play. Do you want to play the game of work hard, pay high taxes, and maybe retire comfortably? Or do you want to play the game of build systems, manage risk, and live free?
And remember, you can be a hybrid. You can be a great nurse in the E quadrant who also owns a portfolio of rental properties as an I. You don't have to quit your job to start building your pipeline, but you do have to start.
So here is the final provocative thought. The challenge for everyone listening this week.
Get out a single piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle. On the left side, write assets. On the right side, liabilities. Be brutally honest with yourself. List everything you own.
Does your car put money in your pocket each month? No. It's a liability. Does your primary home put money in your pocket each month? No. It's a liability. Do you have anything in the asset column?
If the answer is no, don't panic. Just acknowledge it. I currently have 0 assets. That is your starting point, and that's okay.
And then ask yourself the pipeline question that we talked about earlier. If I stopped working today, how many days could I survive?
Calculate that number. If your wealth number is 30 days, your new goal in life is to get it to 60 days, then 90 days, then a year, then eventually to infinity.
That is the real game of wealth. Not becoming a millionaire, but becoming free.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's not about the money, it's about the time.
Rich Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant. It's a beast, but it's a necessary one. Thanks for diving deep with us. Start digging that pipeline.
We'll see you in the next quadrant.